Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining us on the continuation of our shows dealing with Shia misconceptions from the Bayat al-Ghadeer channel. Initially, we thought it would just be a few weeks and that would be it, and we'd start working on other programs. But in fact, last week when we finished, we thought that was it. We've closed the chapter and we'll start working on other projects. But such has been the demand. People have asked us to continue and address various types of questions which are thrown at them. We thought we'd continue until we can, inshallah. We are coming at a time where there's all form of absurd questions coming up and objections. So really, this is the opportunity that we can sit together, exchange views, try to sort of gather knowledge together and address those sort of misconceptions. The whole purpose, I've said it before, of this channel is to try and provide a platform for Shia Muslims to work together, on a united front, and to obviously propagate the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, and to address any misconceptions of our school of thought. Today, who is with us? We've got the usual suspects again. So obviously there's me, Sayyid Hassan Bukhari, who'll be hosting. We've got the familiar name, Sayyid Ali, who seems to be known in good and bad ways by those who are pro and against us. Like anything that's bad, he seems to have some sort of, there's an assumption that he's behind it. He's become the Abdullah bin Sabah of the modern day. Then we also have brother
Hassan Bukhari, you don't want to be starting that room. I do actually stop.
Exactly. That's true. Yeah. Then we've got brother Daniel Abu Zar with us today, brother Ryan, and we have a special guest, brother Douglas. Assalamu alaikum, brother Douglas. Inshallah, we will speak to brother Douglas in a couple of minutes, just to say that it's been an interesting week since we last left off. We are going to go through the objections. We are going to continue there. Some of them are quite relevant because a few recent objections have come up, so we thought we would focus on those specific ones today. But before doing so, the reason that brother Douglas is here today is essentially, really, it's an opportunity for us to speak to him and for him to speak to the wider audience, all viewers which are here today, so he can try and tell us all about his journey to Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. Brother Doug, assalamu alaikum.
I think it's...
Hey, you got me there?
Assalamu alaikum, brother. You okay?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, very.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you very much for joining us. Brother, can you do us a favor? Tell us a little bit about your background. How long have you been Muslim? How did you come to Islam?
Okay, I've been a Muslim. I'm coming up to my third Ramadan now, but I'd say over 2.5 years. So I can't hear you.
We can hear you fine. We can hear you fine.
Yeah, I can't hear any questions. That's been.
Yeah, I think Brother Hassan Bukhari was asking generally,
What brought you to Islam, Doug? What was actually brought you to the deen?
Okay, before I became a Muslim, I was studying at Bible college. I was a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. I went to the seminary there. I studied for a year. I learnt the Hebrew language and started looking into the text of the Old Testament about monotheism in the original languages. And it sort of led me to, I read the Old Testament about how God is one, and I read in the New Testament how Jesus, peace be upon him, said also that God is one and that he is a servant of God. And just reading, there's a consistent message of monotheism throughout the Bible, and there are verses that try to make him out, or people make him out to be God or the Son of God, are very vague. And learning the context about what Son of God means in a Hebrew context. It means a righteous person. It just doesn't mean a literal Son of God. If you go through all the scripture, it refers to, say, Israel being the Son of God, David being the Son of God, even angels being the Son of God. So it's just a term for someone or something that's really righteous. And this just led me onto a path of monotheism. I was sort of stuck for a while, didn't know where to go. I just believed there was one God and Jesus, peace be upon him, was a prophet. I was sort of lost. I tried investigating Judaism. I actually went to the synagogue and was asking them questions. But it's very hard to become a convert to Judaism. They make it very hard. Some Jews don't even believe that you can be a convert. So I was pretty much stuck. I wanted a community. I wanted fellow believers. Plus, in Judaism, they don't believe that Isa, peace be upon him, was a prophet. So, and I still held really strongly to that fact. So, the only reason why I looked into Islam as my final result was because my wife told me to let go of my prejudice, because at that time I had a lot of prejudice towards Muslims, just because of the media. And yeah, I looked into it. I hired out a copy of the Quran from the library, and I sort of hid it. Like when I was walking out, I didn't want no one to see me holding it. But yeah, I read it and I said, "Oh, this is the truth. This is, I've just got to do something about it." So I actually drove 2.5 hours and to a mosque and gave my shahada on a Friday, which was a couple of weeks before Ramadan. So basically, I gave my shahada and I was straight into Ramadan. So yeah, and but when you're learning, when you're a new convert, people come out and say, "Oh, stay away from them Shia, the deviants, the this, the that." They throw a lot of misconceptions around. And I didn't look into it for a while. I even took on some of those.
But Doug, what did you actually become? Did you enter into Salafism, or what type of sect was it that you became?
I had a lot of friends who were Salafi,
Okay.
and but the mosque that I joined was a mixture, probably mainly Hanafi, because there was a lot of people from the subcontinent who attended the masjid.
Right.
So that's the school that they tend to go towards, I guess.
Right.
So that's how I used to pray, was that sort of way, was the Hanafi way. But
they were quite anti-Shia. But you said that there was a lot of anti.
Definitely my Salafi friends were really, really anti-Shia.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other people in the masjid were just like, oh, they're deviants. Like my Salafi friends were like, they're kafir, like really hard out. And then my other friends were just like, they got some wrong doctrine, sort of, this is the right path.
But Doug,
so
I
never
assume
really
it was the
looked
usual
into
type. Doug, was it the usual type of nonsense, like about they don't believe in the Quran, or what sort of things did you typically hear?
I heard about they're not on the Tawheed properly, because they pray to Ali or Hussein without praying to God, like directly to them, and just other stuff, praying on the clay, and just making it out like they're prostrating to the clay, and which all the stuff I've actually looked into myself, and actually, yeah, it's not what they say it is.
Okay. So tell us something. When did the change start to occur? When did you start looking into the Shia side of things?
It actually happened with an event on Twitter. There was a young lady who recently said her Shahada, and like everyone was like, oh, congratulating her and saying, oh, how wonderful it was, and then a couple of days later, she posted a quote from Imam Ali, alayhi salam, and just the backlash and the hate towards Shia that just came out, and I was like, what's going on here? Like, everyone's like, stay away from Shia, blah blah blah, and I was just interested in the conversations that were going on, and I actually went to someone's profile, and there was a link to about Shia, like dispelling myths. And I was like, well, I'm just going to have to look into this myself, and then I was led to a couple of YouTube videos, and I think from another profile I got this channel as well, so I just looked into it.
Hassan Bahari, we can't hear you. You're.
I was saying, from the channel, which of the programs did you find useful?
I was listening to the Hangouts. I've watched every single one. So
Okay.
I watched them in I watched like two in one night, and then the other day I watched the rest, so I'm up to date. I watched the one about the hidden truth. There was the two men
Yep.
that were explaining about how the history has been hidden. That was a very interesting one as well. And just basically all the content on the channel. But the Hangouts have been really helpful.
Good.
It's good to get all the different points of view.
Right. And from there, then obviously we so for you, you found that particularly the Hangouts have been very, very useful.
Yeah, I have it. The dispelling the misconceptions, the myths around Shiism, and I just like the format of everyone contributing. So most of the time, like when you watch a lecture or something, it's just one person speaking, which can be good. But I like the variety of the different opinions and people coming in and sharing their points of view. So
obviously when I'm hosting, I understand that. Okay. Anybody else want to ask any questions?
I like Hassan Bahari's comment because I'm obviously hosting. What do you expect?
Right. Anybody else want to ask any questions?
I can see Ryan getting a bit itchy.
Hey, Doug. Assalamu alaikum.
Hey, Ryan.
Wa
alaikum salam.
Who is your favorite personality on the channel?
I like Ryan's question. Ryan's trying to get his own back.
I think I have to be Hassan.
I think.
No, just joking, brother. No, of course you, because I've been talking to you, brother. So of course I have a closer to you because I've been chatting to you.
Typical. Did you see that Aussie bias? That's what
I know. Proper Aussie bias. This is not fair.
Nah.
We got two Aussies here now. That's right.
Doug, do you remember what the book was that the sister on Twitter shared?
It was just a quote, actually.
From memory, I think if someone could correct me, it was a hadith or a passage from a sermon in Najul Balagha, from Najul Balagha. And what I think a lot of Sunnis have to understand is, despite that being an authoritative work in our books, it's also massively appreciated by many scholars, and not even just in their own school. It also just anyone who admires the Arabic language. It's one of the most eloquently written books in Arabic history. So I think it's kind of ironic that they're all getting up in arms about certain things that are being said. Also, Sermon 1 of Najul Balagha is one of the most amazing explanations of Tawheed that you'll ever find. There's nothing more eloquent than that. Yet if they won't find anything like that in their own books. Yet they hate on people sharing anything that's Shia because of this tribalism that they've got. And inshallah, we can touch on that eventually some other day. But yeah, it's good that we have you on board, Doug. It's really appreciated. You're very. I've spoken to you briefly. You're a quite intelligent individual. So yeah, I'm done. I haven't got any more questions.
Yeah, mashallah. Also want to say welcome. Also being a convert myself, I had quite a similar path, and it's very nice to have you here. It's really inspiring every time to hear a new brother, and yeah, mashallah. Always reminds me of also my story, and I was just fed the same crap that probably you were about the Shia before. You know, you really disencourage people to broaden their scale, to get a broader focus, and maybe you haven't been a Shia for such a long time, but maybe you already saw that we don't do that. We say, okay, go to the other sects, go to other religion, gain knowledge about that. I think this is pretty much a sign that this might be the more correct path of Islam, inshallah. Because I think there's always a problem if people say, don't go to them, don't listen to them. They will they will put you into a spell.
That's probably what makes people want to go to them, because they're told not to. People want to do what they're told not to do.
Yeah, that's it. Mashallah.
I was just going to say, actually, with the launch of the channel, sorry, my camera's got a bit blurry. Since the launch of the channel, alhamdulillah, we've actually had about, I believe it's almost getting to about 9 people now who've accepted the path of the Ahlul Bayt. So, you know, as far as we're concerned, you know, there's a saying that goes, well, there's a verse in the Holy Quran: if you save a life, it's like this, it's like you save the whole of humanity. So as far as I'm concerned, even by Doug, you know, coming toward the path of the Ahlul Bayt, and with this channel helping him, you know, our mission is achieved, you know, as far as I'm concerned. But yes, again, you know, brother's story is quite touching, and inshallah at some point I think Brother Douglas will be joining us for some possible other shows and content for the channel as well. So I think Brother Hassan Bahari, you vanished now. Was there anything else you want to say before Brother Douglas departs? Your phone's a microphone mute as well.
Oh yeah. No, I think thank you very much, Doug, Brother Doug. Inshallah ta'ala, we've got other programs that we've been discussing. Do we want to mention what we've got planned for the Easter period, inshallah?
Nothing for now. I think we'll wait and give everyone a surprise.
Okay, fine. So I suppose that leaves it, Brother Doug. If you, inshallah, as I said, our plan is to get you involved in other programs, and remember us in your du'as.
Will do. Assalamu alaikum, guys. Thank you very much for having me on, and I hope to be back on soon, inshallah. Have a great show.
Thank you very much.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It was very nice to meet you, brother.
Thank you, Doug. Right. So, we've met Brother Doug, and I suppose now we start on our usual topic area. Apologies for that. In terms of subject matter, before we do, it's been a busy week. A lot of things have happened. Every time we kind of have a structure in our mind, we think we will discuss this, that, the other. A couple of curveballs get thrown at us, and we're almost kind of.
Hassan Bahari, you need to get shut off your headphones, honestly.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm trying to, because I've got some kids coming in and out, so I'm trying to.
You've got a lot of disturbance coming from your
okay.
microphone. Now you sound.
I was saying. Okay. What I was saying was every time like we kind of prepare something, we say, okay, we're going to address topic X, Y, Z. A few curveballs are thrown at us, and we almost like compelled. We need to address whatever comes up. Last week, obviously, there was the issue with Zan at Hyde Park. Things have moved on since then, and amazingly, say that as we team, we all know that we've had the honour of a challenge being thrown at us. Brother Zan Rizvi has been challenged to a debate on the issue of imamate, and I find it's quite amazing. Say that the rest of the team, please. What are your thoughts here? I just find it incredible that 2 weeks ago Zan is kind of pushed around and assaulted, rather than apologize, really the right thing to do would have been to issue some form of an apology, because the individual concerned was following Zan, and he was kind of encouraging a crowd, even if he didn't mean it. What happened is indirectly the way his behavior did contribute to Zan being assaulted. So you'd think the right thing to do would be to issue an apology, and we were actually expecting something along that line to try and sort of mellow down the tension. Yeah, that was my thinking.
I actually spoke to the brother. I believe it was the day after when the incident happened, and he admitted responsibility. As far as I'm aware, there was some sort of discussion going on with both Zen and himself, and the brother agreed that he was going to apologize. As far as I'm concerned, he was going to apologize. He admitted his mistake, and he held his hand up for that. And I think he even agreed with Zen as well that he was going to make some sort of apology video. And I think that the agreement from our side was Zen was going to retract some words, but as you're aware, there was a video that came about, but it wasn't really much of an apology. So
absolutely. I mean, so this is let's think about this. He's assaulted. That's bad enough. No apology. In fact, if you actually look at the video is almost like sticking a proverbial two fingers up at Zan. There's nothing respectful. All it does, intentionally, they've tried to portray him as a villain, rather than offer any type of apology. They've tried their utmost to portray him as a villain, the bad guy in this, and the individual who did the assault is the good guy. Okay, so you've tried to reverse that. And now you want to debate this same individual. This is absolutely incredible. The way that he's been treated, why on earth would you expect this same, he's a young lad. I mean, I'm the older of the group, but, the way he's treated, it was very, very poor behavior by you. It's upset him. It's frightened him. Do you honestly think I just find it incredible. I'm lost for words, really, that after the behavior that you've exposed him to, you now expect that he'll just casually sit down with the same group. One of your people has attacked him, and you've issued a video humiliating him, the way that you've spoken about him, and now you want to debate him. It doesn't work that way. You need to understand that, don't try and, act the hard men that you think you are, and think that you can kind of almost... Your behavior is not acceptable, and there's no reason why we should engage in any sort of debate with people like yourselves. Remember, time and time again, at no point, only last week did we mention the name of one person in your group. We haven't even given you any importance, that channel. Really, we haven't. We've gone and carried on doing our own things. We've addressed things. Even if you splurted your nonsense with the filthy tongue that you guys have, we've carried on doing it, but we've done it in a certain way. We've done it in our style. Yeah, we've not but we've not given you any importance. We've not wanted to refer to who you guys are. You honestly think the way that you've behaved towards Zan, you now expect that same individual to sit down with you and have some sort of a civilized debate? It isn't going to happen. There's no way. I mean, obviously it's up to Brother Zan, but really,
apparently it's up to me, because I apparently may stop him from debating.
Yeah, you're like the godfather.
Yeah, that's it. I'm like the Abdullah ibn Sabah, right?
Exactly.
I come along and I cause fitna amongst the people, and then I disappear and nobody ever hears of me again. We
need the Godfather's blessing.
Yeah. Hassan Bahari, just on a quick point as well, as far as I'm aware, I think even before this whole ordeal, there was a debate challenge initiated by, I believe, by Sheikh Hassan Al-Ayari from the States. I believe he put a debate challenge out as well, and I think a member of their team,
one of their group, accepted that challenge. Yes, is that not correct? And then pulled out.
I was part of the mediating side in terms of trying to arrange everything to happen. Yeah, as far as we're concerned, he did agree to some topics, I think the proposed topic that was agreed upon was debating on proving the isma of the Ahlul Bayt, and obviously ultimately the 12 Imams alayhi salam. And on the opposing side, they were going to debate on the rulership of the Shaykhain and obviously the rulership of Usman. But after that, we didn't hear anything, and now we're getting all these videos. Well, today we got a video apparently of a debate challenge, which just seems extremely bizarre, especially in light of everything that's happened. You just think,
let's face it, there's unfinished business. Someone wants to debate you. You guys have, your individual has already started the ball rolling and then decided to stop.
And he's willing to fly over to the UK.
Why would that matter? Why are you chasing us? You've pulled out of the debate. And let's be very clear, we are not affiliated. We want to make this very clear. We're not affiliated with any scholar on Bayt al-Ghadeer channel. Sheikh al-Ayari is not in any way a part of this setup. But since he issued the challenge, your man accepted that challenge. Proceed. Why are you then challenging Zan for that same debate?
I would personally advise him to spend that money on some poor person, or seeking some sort of medical help. What exactly. Can you do? But anyway, let's not waste time. Let's not waste time on Sabari and that, because to be honest, that's not even an important topic.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to make that clear that it's not. It's funny because I've seen all that individual's fan base kind of tweeting and all happiness at something. But to be honest, like I've said to you, this is the position. This is the way it is, and anyone who looks from Zan's perspective, if he doesn't want to debate, there's a reason, and there's a reason why we're backing him on this point. That behavior is not acceptable. We debate and we discuss with civilized people. You guys are the same people that one of our brothers went onto your channel and look at the way he was spoken to. Look at the way he was spoken to. Was that way you Zindiq, Khabis, and all this? I can't remember Khabis, but other sort of language was used. This is the approach that you guys take, and you think we will have a civilized debate with these type of people.
And Hassan Bahari, it goes to show us, alhamdulillah, when it comes to akhlaq, nobody can say, okay, you guys portray bad akhlaq. Brother Douglas, who joined us today, this brother was from a Salafi background, and after watching their channel, watching the content of our channel, he said, listen, clearly there's a problem here. These guys have got a lot of, they have a lot of hate, and what can you say about them? It's just
absolutely. I mean, that's how they do. They're kind of fueled by this hatred, which is what amazes me. There's nothing positive. There's all negative vibes. We're trying to present Islam and Shiism in a positive way, not in a negative, hate-fueled manner. And even as well, we've got people that contact us on the Bayt al-Ghadeer channel.
On a regular basis.
Christians, Sikhs, who've said that the Shias have got good akhlaq. Yeah. And they've said, they give a good representation of Islam. Now, what does that say about us, and what does it say about you?
Can I tell you something?
Daniel, go ahead.
There was always something that totally pushed me away, and in my time as a Salafi, I rather preferred to stay alone than spending much time with these people. Actually, I thought back then this was the right way, but most of these people have terrible manners. It's really, sometimes it's amazing. This, what I mentioned the last time, that they still have their kind of street adab. They don't behave like, I don't even want to say like Muslims, like proper Muslims. They don't even behave like proper adults. Like, you would never get a job like that. If you would apply for a job interview with a behavior like that, nobody would ever even consider taking you for one single job. And this is something that these people should think about. I mean, this is a good advice I would like to give them. I don't have any hatred in my heart. I just want to say, if you want to portray your religion as the correct path, then behave like that, and don't behave like 16-year-old schoolboys trying to play the tough one. And also, one thing that is very disgusting is always playing the victim role. I mean, if there is a sect of Islam that is really harshly attacked and is even killed for their faith, it's the Shia. But the Salafi brothers need to understand that they are not the victims in this world. They are the ones who should be extremely careful, because so much terrorist attacks coming from people referring themselves to their sect, and they should be very careful in how they present themselves to the world. This will scare everybody off. I mean, they think they have a mission to bring the truth to the world and to educate people about Islam. Does anybody of them think that they will attract any people except former gang members and crack addicts with a behavior like that? Because nobody else will ever take them serious with a behavior like that. Nobody. I mean, the brother Zain, I think he's actually still very young. I'm 34. I think he's in his middle 20s, something like that. I don't know. I never met him personally. Middle 20s, and he's so great behavior. I mean, it's, mashallah, as everybody said. It's, I mean, even non-Muslims say mashallah, and that's also something that I always thought when I saw Shia people. They had very nice adab. Also the Sufi people, I have to say that. But the Salafis, no, I never liked that. I was always disgusted by that.
In all fairness, there are some good Salafi brothers out there.
Yeah, indeed, of course,
who are learned and who, you know.
And there are also some horrible Shia.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely, absolutely. Ryan, did you want to add one quick point before we move on to the main?
Yeah, it just reminded me of I won't say the brother's name, but there was an individual that messaged our page on Facebook, and he started abusing our first message. It had nothing. There was no context or anything. It's just like, you dirty mushrik graffiti dogs, you know, blah blah blah. And then so I reply with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for taking your time to send the message, brother. Blah blah blah. And the next message back, he goes, "Sorry, I shouldn't have said that." It's just an impulse. They don't think about it. They hear something, or they'll hear someone say, like, I don't agree with this person, and they automatically get this hatred in them, and then they throw it. And the worst part is, the guy looked like a revert. That's the weirdest thing about it. He looked like either African American or a Latino revert. So it's very, very scary, because we know how, you know, reverts can seemingly come across as zealots sometime, and, or, you know, they have a purer view of whatever it is. They have a purer take on things, and they're more adherent to what the school teaches. So if that school has teachings that are, you know, very violent, that's incredibly dangerous. When I see white converts to Islam, especially Sunni Islam, and I see them walking around without a mustache, I can't help it. I just automatically get freaked out. I don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So it's just, I think everyone just needs to slow their roll, and then also start. I think we're doing a great job. I just want to congratulate you guys on, obviously, what we're doing is working somewhat, and it's I think we're being good examples of our Aqidah, at least through the channel anyway. But yeah, that's all I've got to say.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. Thanks very much, brothers, for all of that. I think we should start now. It's funny, where are we now? 10:15. 10:15. I think we need to start going through the questions. I think the first question really, today's program, we will focus a fair amount on the topic of imamate. I've noticed, coincidentally, an objection came up recently by that channel, sort of mocking the concept of imamate, saying that it was really in response. There was a question saying that the Shias, why does Shias take Allah's attributes to their imams? Why do they apply it to their imams? And then the response was quite the typical abusive nonsense that individual comes out with, and no surprises there. But I've noticed that there's a tendency now, and it seems to be propagated by these said individuals. They are referring to our imams as Power Rangers. This seems to be the new kind of comical, ha ha ha. Look at the concept of imamate. They give their imams powers. Now, the power in particular is the power of miracles. Okay? This is what I want to talk about today for the first point. Miracles, mu'jiza. The argument is the Shias believe that their imam have been bestowed with powers, miracles. If they did, then why didn't they protect themselves when they're in times of trouble? So that really is the question that was being bandied about in their usual rubbish style. but I think we need to address it. Who wants to open up? Sayyid Ali, do you want to start?
Sorry, yeah, I'm here. Well, firstly, when it comes to the powers of the awliya, the friends of Allah, the saints of Allah, the wali of Allah, I think before people start pointing fingers at, how we perceive the Imams of Ahlul Bayt of Islam, our opponents need to understand how they themselves have, what they've said about the Sahaba themselves. Firstly, it should be pointed out that when it comes to miracles itself, this is something not unusual because, actually, if you just give me a second, I'll just quickly bring it up on my screen.
Yeah, once you do that, I could talk a little bit as well. I think the funny thing is these guys that mock the concept that, oh my God, they believe their imams can perform miracles. They seem to, the real question is, number one, is there a concept of miracles in Islam? Is it exclusive to the creator? Or can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala delegate that function to his select chosen individuals on the earth? If he can, there shouldn't be an objection. If I could give you an example, once I was explaining the concept of miracles to someone who was interested in Islam. I remember speaking to them about this, and I said that if you get the concept, for example, you have a company director, okay, he's in charge of the company, it's his company. Now he wants to sort of set in place, implementing the aims and objectives of that company. He appoints officers underneath him, executive officers, and he gives them certain powers, to implement, whatever the aims and objectives of that company are. He'll give them dedicated powers so they can carry out the aims and objectives of that company. Okay, so they're not the company director, but he's appointed them on a day-to-day basis to carry out functions on behalf of the company, on behalf of that director. He's given them certain type of authority. Now, that is the same thing. When we talk about the concept of miracles, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, he is infinite. We've got no doubt about miracles that he can perform, the powers that he has. But he delegates certain powers. He can give that function to his chosen subjects. If he's got certain powers, what is the objection if we believe that he delegates that certain power to, for example, a prophet or a successor of a prophet? Now, we believe that the Imams are the inheritors of the prophet's knowledge. Now, if you look at the Quran, there are many, many examples of prophets being given powers of miracles. Did Isa alayhi salam not raise people from the dead? Did Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam not have specific powers where a bird is in pieces and then put back together? Moses had miracles. We know from Sirah Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that he had miracles. So you can't really mock the concept of miracles at all. Miracles.
Can I bring it up? I want to bring up. So this is, I'm going to screen share now. Can you just let me know if you can see my screen?
Yeah.
Just give me a second. Is my screen coming up? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is from the book Sharh al-Aqeedah al-Wasitiyah, okay? Yeah. And this is a famous book, and many scholars have written commentary on this. And this is the famous book, as it says, by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, okay? And a commentary by Dr. Muhammad Khalil Haras. And this is available online, this book, you can purchase it as well. Very famous book. So this is generally, this book is accepted to be the basis of, Ahl-Sunnah, or the Sunni sect, in terms of what their beliefs are, what they believe in. But now Ibn Taymiyyah has got a chapter dedicated in there, and it's called, make my screen slightly larger, and it says, Ahl-Sunnah believe in the karamat, in the miracles of the awliya, okay? And Ibn Taymiyyah says, the testimony of karamat occurred by the awliya, those righteous people who are close to Allah, also forms part of the principles of Ahl-Sunnah. In other words, to believe in the karamat of the awliya Allah is part of the beliefs of Ahl-Sunnah, okay? As also the testimony of all those extraordinary occurrences and habits which Allah manifests through them in terms of various knowledge, spiritual experience, powers, power ranges, powers, okay? powers, influences, and those that are mentioned in the Holy Quranic Surah Al-Qaf regarding the former communities about the initial period of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een of this Ummah, and also that those that exist in the groups of this Ummah till today and will continue to remain till the day of judgment. And Ibn Taymiyyah, again, he dedicates a whole chapter which talks about the miracles and the karama of the awliya, the friends of Allah, the saints of Allah. And this is something which will exist till the day of judgment. So this is, you know, by all means, you can download this book, read it in your own time. But, you know, as I said earlier, you know, this is something which is part and parcel of their belief. In fact,
sorry, Sayyid, if I could just interject one thing, I want to point one point out. In Al-Sunnah Jamaat, it's just a kind of a linguistic thing. The term of mu'jiza, miracles, they attribute to prophets, okay? But karamat, they attribute that to the saints. They're both the same thing. The only difference is they don't use that terminology for non-prophets, miracles, mu'jiza. They use karamat. Just in terms of a distinction, Mullah al-Qari has written that as well. He's distinguished between karamat and mu'jiza.
Yes.
And mu'jiza is a supernatural event, such as bringing the dead back to life, and karamat is also a supernatural event. So he's distinguished between the two. Okay?
Yes, absolutely. And also it's one of the signs of prophethood as well, that, you know, certain mu'jizas were, you could say, unique to some extent, which were exclusive for the prophets. But, you know, it may well be that the awliya Allah, the friends of Allah, the saints of Allah, may not have actually performed them. So again, this is another book. Again, I'm quoting notable Salafi scholars, because at the end of the day, you know, the general Sunni population, they accept these miracles for the awliya Allah. Okay, it's normally some Salafis who suffer indigestion when it comes to this particular topic. Either they're being dishonest, okay, about this, and they know that they believe in these miracles themselves, or perhaps they're ignorant of their own books, in which case, if they are ignorant, then we are here to educate you from your own books, okay? So previously I showed the book Sharh al-Aqeedah Wasitiyah. This is another book, okay? And this book is, again, written by Ibn Taymiyyah, and it's called The Friends of Allah and the Friends of Shaitan, okay? And on page 113, if I get it right, Ibn Taymiyyah talks about some of the miracles performed by the Sahaba, and I will very quickly see if I can bring it up some sort of traditions for you. Just give me a minute. Sorry, just give me a second. I apologize. So yeah, I mean, again, he gives numerous examples of Sahaba performing miracles. For example, there's one occasion here, it says the horse of Wasal ibn Ashi once died during battle. He said, "Oh Allah, do not allow me to become indebted to one of your creation." He prayed to Allah and he brought his horse back to life. Wow. You know, so yeah, this horse was, you know, again, we can sit here and mock it and say, "Oh my God, this horse is a zombie. It's come back from the dead. It's come back to life." You know, wow. But again, you know, you could see he demonstrates an example of how a horse was brought back to life. Another instance, for example, he mentioned the story about a Sahaba speaking to a lion, communicating and speaking to animals. Okay. Again, what do you call it? There's a story about a donkey. A man from the tribe of Anakaf was traveling when his donkey died. His companion said to him, "Give us your load and we'll divide it between our animals." He said to them, "Give me a little time." He made very meticulous ablutions, praying 2 rakats of prayer, and made dua to Allah. Allah brought his donkey back to life, and he continued on his way. Again, another story. So you can see this whole book is pretty much dedicated to, you know, stories about Sahaba even walking on water. There's an example of Sahaba, you know, performing, walking on water, coming back from the dead. I mean, what can you say? I mean, you know, what should we say? Should we say this is kufriyat, shirkiyat, this is the ghulu? You know, they consider the Sahaba to be demigods. You know, I mean, should we? Yes, go ahead, bro.
Does it also have the narration where Khalid ibn Walid changed wine into water?
I'm not gonna say anything about that, only purely because I don't want to misquote things. I do believe I did remember reading this.
But it's also reported miracle. Yes.
It's in Hayatul Sahaba.
Yeah.
I mean, true.
There's a book, I think it's called Hayat al-Awliya, and it's like a 3-4 volume book, and you'll find many examples of miracles performing. In fact, in this book, Friends of Allah, the Friends of Shaitan, Ibn Taymiyyah quite clearly states there's not a big deal if Sahaba even fly, because there's not a big deal, about flying. So, and then we have people who sit there trying to, act intelligent, be smart, trying to tell us about what's ghulu, what's shirk. Oh, we shouldn't give these human attributes, these godlike attributes, to normal people, when you can see clearly that they've demonstrated examples of Sahaba praying and supplicating. If we say the same thing that the Imams say by the permission of Allah, oh, this is ghulu, this is exaggeration, but it's okay. Sahaba can walk on water. They can flap their arms and they can fly. So it's just double standards. Hassan Bahari, I don't know if Ryan wants to add anything to that. I mean, again, I really recommend my viewers, the viewers, to read this book, The Friends of Allah, The Friends of Shaitan. Chapter after chapter, you see miracles and miracles of Sahaba. Again, the book Sharh al-Aqeedah Wasitiyah, there's a whole chapter dedicated to the karamat of the awliya Allah. So, to deny these things, you'd have to be a complete jahil. You'd have to be completely ignorant. You'd probably never read your books before. Ryan, I don't know if you want to add anything to that quickly, or.
No, it's just amazing looking at the cognitive dissonance. What often will turn when Salafis see people that have left their school of thought and become Shia, they have to understand it's because their school of thought doesn't make any sense. And in that sense as well, it's that the things that that school is saying about the Shia or any other school, it's also based on predominantly rubbish, or they're misquoting, and etc. etc. So I think any of the Sunnis, especially the Salafis that are watching this video right now, probably in the comment section, I recommend that you, as the guys have suggested, you read your own books, because it's quite funny what's being said in the comment section right now. It's exactly what we're talking about. To say these things, they're like, oh, it's kufr to do this and it's shirk to do this, but we've just talked about these examples right now. It's crazy. It's so absurd.
But you're looking at Power Rangers. You've got Power Rangers in your own sect.
Yeah, they've got Dragon Ball. So it's it's double standards, and it's these people are ignorant. They're like parrots. They hear one person say something, and they'll repeat the same thing. Go out there, read your books. Read the books of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. See what he says. We've not even gone into the miracles of Ibn Taymiyyah yet. We can do a whole show of how we possess knowledge of the unseen, which kind of goes to your second question, I believe.
I think we will address that, inshallah. I think we will deal with Ibn Taymiyyah's miracles in the next objection point. I was just going to, can you, if you bear with me a second, Brother Daniel, do you want to add anything there?
Maybe we could just quickly mention a few words on angels. I mean, angels are also creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I mean, there are powers angels have. For example, the angel of death, Malakul Maut alayhi salam, he is omnipresent. He can take hundreds and thousands of lives in the same second all over the globe. Like, you have a few thousand people dying in China, a few thousand people dying in Africa, a few thousand people dying in Europe, everywhere, and the angel of death is everywhere at the same time to take the souls. One thing. Then we have angels delegated with being in charge of the winds, being in charge of the weather, being in charge of blowing the horn on Judgment Day, being in charge of carrying the throne. And all of these things, which might seem pretty miraculous and superpowerish, but nobody had ever had a problem with that. And I mean, where is the huge difference between an angel having these powers and a man human being having these powers? I mean, is there anything in Quran or in the even in the Sunni or in our ahadith saying there is a line between this and also the jinn? I mean, the jinn have powers, like for example, look at Sulaiman alayhi salam having the ifrit, who was able, and the other man, I mean, this was a man, Asif, his name was Asif. He was even stronger than the jinn. He could bring the throne within the blink of an eye.
Of the beast, and in the Quran,
the Quran is full of it. The hadith literature is full of it. Even Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab believed in the karamat. So I don't know if it's really worth the time debating it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we can do a whole show actually dedicated onto some of the miracles that the Sahaba performed, at a later time. In fact, Hassan Bahari, I think if anyone brings an objection to any of the points we've made in any of our shows, we'd be more than happy to, do a whole show on that particular topic, be it on the issue of adult fosterage, the disrespect of the Sahaba, astaghfirullah, the things that they've said about the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him and his family, the things they've said about the wives of the Prophet, may peace and blessings be on the righteous wives of the Prophet. You think to yourself, like, before you start pointing fingers at people, you point one finger, but then you have four fingers pointing back at yourself. Just on a point, Daniel, before you get accused of believing that the angel of death is God because he's omnipresent, there is a statement which they say, and that is that, when it comes to the angel of death, he travels at the speed of thought, okay? Which really doesn't really answer the question, because at the end of the day,
also a superpower. It's also
a superpower, Power Rangerish, it's giving godlike traits to them, because these people are very narrow-minded. The literalist people, and since the literalist people, when it suits them, they're literalists. Otherwise, they become Ash'ari and they become, whatever they want to. Whatever doesn't, whatever suits the narrative, they'll become that, basically. You know how it is.
And I also wonder, what is actually the problem? I mean, how do they imagine God? Do they imagine God like there is something like Jupiter or Zeus sitting on his throne, and then he has a certain amount of power, and he takes a part of this certain amount of power and gives it to somebody else, and as soon as he has given enough of that away, there is nothing left for himself? Astaghfirullah. I don't even get the concept of a God. God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, can give as much power as he wants to any of his creation, and it doesn't take anything away from his status as the only absolute supreme being. I mean, this wouldn't even come to my mind. Like, and even if he gave all the power to one being, let's be really extreme, if he gave all the power to one being or to other beings, then still he would be the one controlling these beings. They would be dependent on him alone. So even then there wouldn't be a problem. Even then, the problem is only if you believe that there is anything independently of Allah having any power, and you don't even have the power to breathe or to eat independent from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we can consider that also the same thing. Am I godlike because I can breathe?
These people are, as I said before, these people are extremely ignorant. They've never read their own books. And I don't think we should waste any more time on this particular question, because we can dedicate a whole show just to the miracles that some of the Sahaba performed, which apparently, even though despite the fact that even they performed these miracles, according to their logic, they couldn't even save their own lives. So, Hassan Bari, do you want to go to the next question?
I really want to address that point, because certainly the example that the said individual did give was quite, it was quite offensive, and I think it's worth pointing out that we need to understand. It's a question that say, oh, your Imams had all of these sort of powers, and why didn't they use these miraculous powers to protect themselves and gain authority, XYZ? Something. I think the problem is that we have here is those that uphold and praise violence to attain power. These are people those that believe in suicide bombings in marketplaces that kill and maim innocent people and children just to get power. They won't understand if Imam Ali alayhi salam, having all these powers, doesn't utilize them, they'll say, my God, to get power, we do whatever we can by any means necessary. We want to get in. So for them, you know, they're very narrow-minded, like we've just said. For them, it's beyond any sort of logic. How can Ali ibn Abi Talib have these miraculous powers and then act, astaghfirullah, the way that the comment, you know, act like fools because they don't utilize that? That's because you guys believe in the concept of using any form of violence to get power. It doesn't matter. What you need to do, you need to get it. You know what? This is the Islam of Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. It's not the Islam of Yazid, Muawiyah, Abu Bakr, Baghdadi. That's the difference. Okay? Your concept of power is different, and that was presented by Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam is very, very different. Point number one. I think the second point which we need to take into account is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, did he not equip prophets with the same sort of miracles? Of course he did. 124,000 prophets were on the earth. And of course, to carry out a function, a task, by all means, he would have given his choice subjects miracles, powers. And, you know, but what we do know is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, undoubtedly, he wants one true deen, and that is Islam. If he wanted to, couldn't he have given all of his prophets the power to just destroy all their enemies? So that there was only one deen? Couldn't they have utilized all the powers that they had? But if we look at the example of prophets, there's two things. Okay, man has been given free will. There's clear verses of the Quran in that regards. And when it comes to prophets, they haven't been given the authority to use miracles for their own personal benefit. They use it when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires them to do so. You don't see prophets, for example, doing using their miracles for their own betterment to get a better house.
Well, the prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him and his family, did he use his miracles when it comes to the Treaty of Hudaybiyah?
There we are. Explain,
what was the Treaty of Hudaybiyah? What were the conditions of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah? What were they? You know, at the end of the day, is look. When we look at the fundamentals of Islam, we look at the pillars of Islam. You have Tawheed, like our brothers, they have Tawheed in there. They have even Hajj is included within the fundamentals of Islam. But despite that, when we study history, we come to learn that the Holy Prophet, and peace and blessings be upon him, he was prevented from performing Hajj, and the Mushrikeen, they made an agreement. They signed a treaty. And if you ever get a chance, there's actually a book out there called The Seal, the Nectar, and there's a whole chapter dedicated to what the Mushrikeen put as a condition of that treaty, and some of those conditions included crossing out the Prophet's name, Muhammad Rasulullah. They said, "Listen, we believe in you. We know you're Muhammad, but we don't accept you to be a messenger of Allah." So, the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him. Did he, according to their logic, that would mean that he abandoned the Risala, because at the end of the day, he crossed out his Risala on that condition, right? He also, I think the Kuffar even said that we don't even believe in Allah being Rahman. We don't accept this name Rahman. So they said, cross this Rahman out from the treaty. All these things, the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, compromised to some extent, right? He compromised these things, despite the fact that he performed miracles. Why didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perform a miracle and save him there and then? So again, it's very narrow, shallow mind that they have, and understanding of what miracles are, what karamats are, and obviously who can perform them.
Can I just intercept? I think it's interesting as well. We often get compared to Christians in our reverence of the Imams. But I think it's quite funny if you actually. We look at these books here where they believe the Sahaba, they can perform miracles and stuff like that, which, we have no problem. But at the same time, if they're going to call us out all the time and say that we're like Christians, the Christians had the same belief that the companions of Nabi Isa, they used to committed miracles. So why are they always being reactionary and saying, you're like the Christians, you're like the Christians? Like, read your own books. You're like the Christians. You know what I mean?
It's true. We wouldn't resort to that dirty tactic, right? We wouldn't start saying, "Oh, look at this ghulu, look at this shirk. This is kufr. These people are they're becoming mushriks. They worship in this case, they worship the Sahaba. You know, they believe they can walk on water, they can fly and flap their arms and all these type of things. Yeah. So, you know, again, if you're going to start pointing fingers, then you guys are going to fall into big, serious trouble.
And we need to look at what miracles actually are as well. And essentially, like, they're acts which suspend belief. You know what I mean? They're just so seemingly absurd that they actually happened. You just can't comprehend them. So we just call them miracles, right? But what it actually is, if you look at the prophets and how a lot of them did miracles, right? That was there to teach the people that there is a God. So when it comes to why would God just take that from the earth? There's no more prophets. Yeah, that's fine. But why would he rob the earth of miracles? That means he's robbing all the earth of these hujjas. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
these are all these proofs.
Sorry, Bob.
Go on. I said Ibn Taymiyyah admitted that though. He said, listen, miracles happen in the past nations. It happens in the present nation, meaning during his time, and up until the day of judgment. So, you know.
It's interesting because, you know, I want to address that objection as well. But if you think, I was just like going through my daughter's doing physics, her exams this year. We're looking at the concept of, you know, like a power station that generates, what does it do? It generates electricity, and it sends that electricity to a substation, who then absorbs that and then spreads it out, doesn't it, to people's homes. And you know what, on its own, you could say that is really the concept of imamate in a way as well, and prophethood, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-encompassing power, and he essentially sends it to the prophet, to the imam, the authority, that power, and they are there to then spread that knowledge, that sort of base, to the subjects on the earth. I mean, you know, some power is such that no ordinary person can comprehend that, but it has to go to an imam or a prophet. Agreed? Isn't that what the concept of imam?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, Hassan Bari. And it's like what you mentioned earlier. We believe that the Imams alayhi salam, they are the inheritors of the knowledge of the prophets. Okay,
absolutely.
And if you look in Al-Kafi, there's chapters which talk about how the Imams alayhi salam possessed certain names of Allah. Okay, they had knowledge of certain names of Allah, and with these names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and with the verses of the Holy Quran, they were able to perform many miracles. And again, we don't need to delve further on this. So anybody who has issues with miracles of the awliya Allah and so forth, then they're just ignorant, and you know, it's not even worth discussing this particular topic with them.
Well, I think, is it all right if I just tidy up one point? Because he made a real mockery of that issue, to saying, why did Ali ibn Abi Talib, you know, utilize this astaghfirullah? You know, he used quite inappropriate type of language. I think, you know, like we've already touched on this point. Anything that you throw at Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam not utilizing his miracles, it applies the same to any prophet or an executive of the prophet, because they were, if you see from the example of those prophets, they were overpowered by hypocrites and infidels, you know, in past generations, and yet Allah did not instruct them to allay their difficulties by utilizing miracles. Is it not an accepted fact that previous prophets were killed and so were their wasi's? Isn't that true? Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam, he was a wasi of his father, the powerful Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam, and yet after his death, his strong kingdom, that was snatched away, even though Sulaiman had, we've just given, the brother Daniel gave the example, he had Asif as one of his followers, who could, you know, bring the throne of Bilqis with just a, you know, twinkle of an eye. Even, you know, all of this power, and it's not utilized. See what I'm saying? That kingdom is taken away. How such a powerful supporter of Sulaiman alayhi salam exists, and he's still not able to kind of stop the downfall of a kingdom. Along the same lines, Imam Ali alayhi salam, this is what we believe, he possessed miraculous powers. He possessed a complete knowledge of the book, which brings with it a certain type of power. But if he maintained his silence and didn't utilize that for his own personal reasons, we have traditions in your books and in ours, inshallah. We will discuss that in future shows, where the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family had said, Ali, you will face adversity after me, and you will maintain patience in the face of that adversity. So if Amir al-Mu'mineen didn't use this miraculous power that you're mocking, you should know that there's a hadith that Amir al-Mu'mineen simply obtained, he decided to adopt sabr when faced with these tragedies, and that's because he was following the hadith of the Prophet. So you've got no right to mock Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. If you do, it goes back to the previous prophets as well.
And if I may add, absolutely, and if I may add something besides miracles, I mean, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was the supreme warrior of his time, if not of all time.
Of course.
So he wouldn't even have needed any miracles. He would have defeated all of them. He would have killed all of them single-handed without a problem. But he didn't do that. And I mean, he killed dozens of men in his youth in battles. When he was like 17, 18 years old, he killed like 20, 30, 40 people in one battle.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't even have needed any miracles besides that. And the third Caliph, Uthman, he also has a narration where people also ask him why he did not fight against his oppressors, and he said, "Oh, he has promised the Prophet to stay patient." So we can also bring that back to this third Caliph.
And Ibn Taymiyyah mentions that his wife was sexually abused.
Yeah, I mean, he was not a fighter.
The hadith actually says that when it comes to Naila, they said that the one with the big buttocks. That's what the tradition said. And this is not for me. If anyone wants to challenge it, I'll be happy to show the tradition on this. So, it goes back to the point. Why didn't Usman defend his wife from being abused and sexually molested? And we had Sahaba there who performed miracles. We had Sahaba who could walk on water. We had Sahaba who could bring dead animals back to life, or we had Sahabas who. So again, you're right. It's just
exactly.
Hassan Bahari.
So when Medina was attacked, by these Ibn Sabah followers, why didn't all the Sahaba get together and utilize these, powers, like some sort of Marvel Avengers, and deal with the problem then?
Yeah. I mean, well, why didn't they all get together and defend?
Everybody got together.
Why didn't they stop Hara from happening? Why didn't they stop the house of Allah being attacked?
Yeah, they have miraculous powers. You've got examples in your books.
Why didn't they use it in the battles? Why didn't they just bring lightning and thunder down from the sky?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
that's the thing, this sort of objections that they have.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's pathetic. Stupid.
I think we've destroyed the.
I know. Hassan Bahari, let's move on, man.
But one thing is, isn't it funny?
Come on, Sayyid. Come on, let's move on now.
No. One thing is, isn't it funny though that the same people who praise Usman for his sabr, his patience, they mock Amir al-Mu'mineen when he does the same thing. It's one rule for Usman, but obviously if Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam does it, then it's suddenly a mockery, and he's a
Hassan Bahari. There's a hadith of the Prophet that says, "Do not find faults in Ali. I am from him and he's from me."
Yeah, Buraidah.
If they really believed in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do you think that they would sit there mocking and finding faults in Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam?
And that's all they do.
That's all they do. The Prophet said, "Do not find faults in Ali." Oh yeah, but didn't Ali do this? Oh, why didn't Ali do this? Why didn't Ali do that?
Exactly. They used to curse Ali, but okay, it's not religious, it's just political.
It's political, yeah. So what if the Shia politically curse the Sahaba? That makes it fine. Come on, look. What kind of absurd logic these people use? Allahu Akbar.
I know. Do you know what? It's funny because I think one of the brothers showed us there's a Sahih narration in which Salma condemned people, said you are cursing the Prophet from the pulpit because Ali's being cursed.
Hassan Bahari, that's weak. That's weak though, right?
No, I think it's
No, Hassan Bahari, no, it's weak. Anything in virtue of the Ahlul Bayt becomes weak. Anything which is in virtue of Sahaba, that's other Sahaba, that becomes Sahih.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if the biggest scholars authenticate it, let's just say, even if like some of the biggest muhaddiths in the last 100 years, said this is Sahih. Oh no, there's a little defect in the chain. This guy's got bad memory. He's got a bad memory. He was a liar. So. These people make you laugh. Even if all the scholars authenticate the tradition, they will weaken it. They'll say it's weak.
You know what? They will say, well, we don't deem our scholars infallible just like you deem your Imams infallible. And they use even that to mark it.
But the funny thing is, guys, Daniel, the funny thing is they've also got a principle in their books, that on the topic of Fazail, the praises of the Sahaba, a weak hadith is acceptable.
True.
No,
True.
no.
But
Not
only for
Ibn Talib is not.
Yeah.
Hassan
Not for Ahlul
Bahari,
Bayt alayhi
they
salam.
even believe that you can accept dreams as hujjah as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, forget hadith. They believe that you can even accept dreams as hujjah. But we'll go to that in later shows. Let's move on. Come on, I think we've totally buried this topic. It's just
We have.
think,
you know what? I think
Bahari,
we
that's
just
your
one more.
fault. That's
Yeah,
your
my
fault.
fault. I have to say. I was a little bit wound up, to be honest, by what was said.
Yeah, it was unnecessary.
Okay.
That long.
Okay. I think it kind of connects to the next one. The concept of obviously it's a favourite of these guys again, which again shows the fact that they're not the sharpest tool in the sheds. When they argue this point with us, they say that you guys believe that your imams have knowledge of the unseen, the ghaiba, and obviously because only God has that power, that proves that you give God that you give your imams Allah's attributes, hence you're apostates. So if we could please address this very clever argument that these geniuses are presenting.
I just want to quickly bring something up, right? So we've discussed miracles. Obviously, there's no objections to that, and I think we kind of totally buried that topic. I just want to quickly screen share. I'm going to bring up something for you guys to read. By all means, read this up in your own time. And this is from a well-known fatwa site, and it talks about a certain type of knowledge, a certain type of ilm. And this ilm is called ilm al-laduni. Okay, what is ilm al-laduni? Because we believe that the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt possessed ilm al-laduni, which they inherited from the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him. Let's not forget, the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, practically raised, Imam Ali alayhi salam. Obviously, Bibi Fatima being his daughter, may peace and blessings be upon her. Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, they were raised by his hand, so they were practically born in the house of revelation. Okay, and likewise, we believe that when it comes to the science and the knowledge of the Seerah, the Sunnah, and the Quran, nobody had more knowledge. No one had acquired more knowledge than them. So this is from a well-known fatwa site. It's not a Shia site; it's a Sunni site. It's called Islam Web, and there's a question here, which is asked by someone. I'll zoom it up a bit more for you guys so you can see clearly. And it says, what is ilm al-laduni? Is it based upon Quran and Sunnah? And the answer, all perfect praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. I testify that there is no worthy of worship except Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, His slave and His messenger. Ilm al-laduni, the divinely inspired knowledge, refers to the knowledge inspired and bestowed directly by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Exalted, upon whomever He wills. So not to the prophets, not just to the prophets, but to whomever He wills. Okay, of His believing slaves, and it does not contradict the divine revelations of the Quran and Sunnah. Now here again, Ibn Taymiyyah. So I think our viewers need to understand, it's only some ignorant people who have a problem with these concepts about miracles and knowledge of the unseen. When we say knowledge of the unseen, we do not mean complete knowledge of the unseen, because complete knowledge of the unseen is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what He can do, He can bestow some of that knowledge of the unseen to His creation. Okay, and in fact, I think I remember an individual misquoting a chapter in Al-Kafi where he apparently claimed that the Imams have the same knowledge on par with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a complete lie. There's no chapter which suggests that the Imams have the same amount of knowledge as God. In fact, if you go back to Al-Kafi, and just a point worth mentioning as well, these chapter headings were actually not originally written by the authors who compiled these books. These chapter headings were something added afterwards. But again, if we go back to our original books and we go have a look at Al-Kafi, you would find many examples where, for example, there would be a certain day of the week where the angels would come to the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt and they would give them new knowledge. Okay, again, refer back to the same chapter which talks about the knowledge that the Imams possess. You would see this knowledge is something not infinite, is something which is finite and is limited. Okay, so coming back to this point about ilm al-laduni, and Ibn Taymiyyah, he wrote As for ilm al-laduni, it is true that Allah reveals to his allies and his pious servants whose hearts are pure from whatever he disapproves and pursues what he approves, the like of which he bestows upon no one else. Interestingly, look what Ibn Taymiyyah says. Ali alluded to it. So meaning Ali radiallahu, Ali may Allah be pleased, alluded to it when he was asked. So again, you can see even Ibn Taymiyyah, he does not deny that it's possible for Allah's creation to receive some sort of, divine inspired knowledge. And this is not something which is just limited to, it's not something just limited to the prophets. Allah can bestow upon his righteous servants. And again, when you get a chance, have a read of this. Ibn Taymiyyah quotes numerous verses of the Holy Quran to prove this is something which is unusual. And again, go back to the Holy Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even says that he even inspires bees. Okay. And yeah, so Hassan Bari, I think I've made my point on that. I don't know if you want to add anything more about it.
Okay, thank you for that. I think if I could just sort of expand on a point. When we talk about ilm ghaib, ghaib obviously in terms of its definition, ghaib means something that is hidden. Okay, so something that's concealed, correct? We've all agreed on that point in terms of a definition. Obviously, something that's concealed from one person might not necessarily be concealed from another. I'll give you the example. Let's say I've got a verse of the Quran. Yeah, I give that to a child and I say, listen, son, can you read it? And that child can't read it. The reason being because he hasn't learned basics of the Quran. He doesn't learn Arabic. He doesn't comprehend. So that's hidden from that child. Now, if I give it to the next kid and he can read it, that's because he understands Arabic. Okay, so the next level. Now, if I give it to another child, a bit older, who's learned a little bit about tafsir, he'll be able to not only read it, comprehend it, he'll be able to provide a background commentary to it. So you understand what is concealed for one person, not necessarily for the next one. It's all to do with knowledge. You know, knowledge essentially is a means by which ghaib can be unlocked. And this is a very important point for us, that when we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed the Imams with knowledge, and we're not saying infinite, whatever he's chosen, he's obviously those things which are concealed from people, he's given it to the Imams because they are his choice elect. It's the same way prophets are the true inheritors of the earth, the true successors. The Imams, as the successors of those prophets, have been given that same type of knowledge. That's a very important point. Brother Daniel, do you want to add anything on that? I've got a few points, but I thought I'll come back to it. Daniel?
Well, I thought about when Brother Said Ali said, what is an Al-Kafi? I mean, the furthest point that we get from Al-Kafi is that the Imam alayhi salam say that if they want to know something, Allah lets them know it. And there's always an emphasis on Allah giving them the knowledge. So as I said before, even if there would be knowledge about everything in recreation, there would be no problem, as this knowledge would be only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given to them, and Allah could also take it away again. And the next thing is also one thing from the aql, that what concept of divine knowledge do some people have? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not only have knowledge about what is in this creation, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also has knowledge of all possibilities that could occur. Like there is an infinite ocean of possibilities. Even quantum physics confirmed that basically what we live in is an infinite amount of possibilities, and only very, very, very small percentage of these possibilities manifest in real existence. And this is what we call reality. This is what we call the creation, the level of existence we are in. And if one single being, let it be a prophet or an imam, has knowledge of everything that is within this continuum of manifested possibilities, this would be still very limited knowledge compared to what could possibly happen. I mean, we are talking about things like we could imagine a parallel universe where this phone is blue and this is only one, then another one where it is red, then there is another universe where we all wear funny hats, and there is another universe where infinite. And just this is what divine knowledge is, that Allah's knowledge is not even possible to put it in terms. So if we say that an imam or a prophet has knowledge about things that will happen in the future, and this is true, like we have predictions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is announcing things that will happen in the end of times. So then we have the Prophet in Sunan an-Nisa'i. He's seeing the people when he's praying, when he's not looking at them. So he knows what is going on behind his back without even looking at it. And all these things. And
I'm glad you brought that up, actually. Hassan Bari, can you just actually, before I go,
Yeah.
I think Ryan's been kept out of the loop here. Ryan, is there anything you want to add anything to that, bro?
No.
No reaction. No reaction. Okay. So I just, Hassan Bari, I just want to quickly screen share something with you. Yeah. Just give me a minute. I just want to bring it up because I know people are talking about knowledge of the Imams alayhi salam, and we've already responded to that. We don't believe that they possess complete infinite knowledge. That's, again, go back to our books. You'll see there's numerous chapters which mention the types of knowledge the Imams alayhi salam had. Nevertheless, okay, let's have a look what our respected brothers believe in, okay? And I'd like to bring up a very famous book, which Hassan Bari, I'm sure you're aware of, Ghazi Ayad's Al-Shifa. Yeah. Give me a second, I'll bring my screen up. So this is from the book Ghazi Ayad Al-Shifa. Can you see, Hassan Bari?
Yeah, I've got it in my own collection. Yeah, no, well.
Very famous book. And it's very good. So I just want to bring up a particular chapter in there. And look what it's called. Section 24. The Prophet's knowledge of the unseen and future events. So there you have it. Does this mean that
can you bring up the tradition in Bukhari? There's a tradition where which shows us the extent of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family's knowledge. You're probably aware of it, the tradition of Ibn Umar. Can you bring that up?
Yeah, sure. If you just give me a second.
Shall I give you the? You want me to give you the chapter?
No. I mean, there's all sorts of tradition mentioned in Bukhari. Okay, just give me a moment. I'll bring up some of these traditions for you so you can have a look at it.
I'll tell you why. There's a reason we're going to explain this, because the traditions talk about the extensive knowledge that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had of ghaib. And by doing this, we are going to demonstrate, inshallah, to you all, that when the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family has this type of ghaib, then there can be no objection, because obviously the objection that these guys are raising, saying, oh, you believe that your moms have powers of ghaib and you're hence apostates. Look at your own book, and this power has been given to the Prophet. And if we believe that Amir al-Mu'mineen has that power, we believe that the Imams have it, as they are the inheritors of the knowledge of the Prophet.
Yeah, so Maria, I brought it up for you guys.
Okay.
So I just want to read some of these traditions very quickly with you, brothers. Let me just make my screen big. I don't know if I can do this. A second. And this is from Sahih Bukhari, and the tradition says, narrated Hudayfa, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once delivered a speech in front of us when he left nothing but mention about everything that would happen till the hour, I mean till the day of judgment. Some of us stored that our minds, and some forgot it. Okay, so the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him and his family, he gave a speech in front of us where he left nothing but mentioned everything that will happen till the hour. Some of us stored that in our minds and some forgot it. I used to see events taking place which had been referred to in that speech, but I had forgotten them before their occurrence. Then I would recognize such events as a man recognizes another man who has been absent and then sees and recognizes him. And this is from Sahih Bukhari, volume 8, book 77, hadith 601. Again, another narration. I just put it up for you guys. And it's narrated, Allah's Messenger led us in dawn prayer and then mounted in the pulpit and addressed us until it was the time of noon prayer. He then came down the pulpit and observed prayer, and then he again mounted the pulpit and again addressed us until it was time for Asr prayer. He then again came down and observed prayer, and then again mounted the pulpit and addressed us until the sun was set, and he informed about everything pertaining to turmoil. Well, that's in the brackets anyway. He informed us about everything that they lay hidden in the past and what lies in the womb of the future. And the most learned amongst us is one who remembers them all. Again, another narration, and this is from the Book of Knowledge, And Abu Hurairah narrates that. Oh, this is a very interesting narration because some people often bring up an objection. They say, well, if the, how can the Prophet have this secret type of knowledge which he would keep exclusive to some Sahaba? Like, for example, we like the Shias, the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, believe that some certain knowledge was restricted to Imam Ali alayhi salam, even though our opponents like to quote some traditions which imply that certain knowledge was not kept hidden, and rather whatever the Prophet had conveyed to the Sahaba, that was conveyed in its totality. However, this is again, we find conflicting narrations. For example, this tradition from Abu Hurairah, narrated Abu Hurairah, I have memorized two kinds of knowledge from Allah's Messenger. I have propagated one of them to you, and if I propagate the second, then my throat would be cut and killed. And this is from Sahih Bukhari, Volume 1, Book 3, Hadith number 121. So as you can see, there were two types of knowledge which the Prophet conveyed to some of the Sahaba. One type of knowledge which was propagated, and the other, as based on this tradition, Abu Hurairah, he did taqiyya because he hid it, because he was afraid that if he was to tell people, they would, cut his throat. So yeah, I mean, there's many examples.
Doesn't that make Abu Hurairah munafiq?
Sorry?
Or is Abu Hurairah munafiq or Shia?
Oh, because he did, what, because he hid away the truth, you mean?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well.
Yeah, that's a good point. He did taqiyya, right? So he hid it away because he was afraid that people may cut his throat. So
that's not acceptable because, obviously, what's happened here? Ibn Sabbah came along or what?
No,
Okay. To say that, you've just mentioned those traditions.
Yeah. Hasabar, do you notice something though? There's something interesting here, and that is that when it comes to a certain group of Sahaba, right, they remember these things, right? Isn't it interesting? It comes back to the point of Adala Sahaba, right? All the Sahaba were just and truthful. Yeah, they're not incapable of lying, but they can seem to forget things when the Prophet tells them, right? So it makes you think what else they could have possibly forgotten about, right? Let's be realistic. Yeah, because a Sahaba recounts that, look, when it happened to certain events, it was as if it was like identifying another man you already knew. Yeah. But what's interesting is what Imam Ali alayhi salam says on this.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to share some traditions. If you just give me a minute, I apologize for boring you guys.
No, it's very good. This is very important. Actually.
I think. Just give me a second. I'll just bring it up on my screen. Some interesting narrations.
In the meanwhile, just one question: when everything was mentioned, and even if we say, okay, it was only for the tribulation as they added, and it's just added out of nowhere, but even assuming that, why was there a civil war after like 10 years after the Prophet passed away, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Like people seem to forget very quickly, and he obviously told them, well, listen, after me will happen this and that, and there will be a civil war, and there will be war between Imam Ali alayhi salam and Muawiyah, and people nobody remembered that. Nobody said, oh, wait a minute, didn't the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tell us about that?
Yeah. Hasabari, what's interesting is a tradition that mentions Abu Hurairah. I have seen some justifications for it, and that was that second type of knowledge was the name of the unjust leaders who are going to come after. But again, how do they acquire that knowledge if Abu Hurairah didn't reveal it?
Yeah.
So it's all just based on assumption. But I just want to quickly screen share this tradition. And can you see my screen, Hassan Bari?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. So this is. Just give me a second. Find this way. Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi mentions, narrated Abu Tufail from Imam alayhi salam, who said, ask me, for I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's not a single thing that you can ask me about that the day of judgment except that I tell you about it. This hadith is sahih. Again, Abu Tufail, Imam alayhi salam said, ask me about the book of Allah. Sorry, probably didn't make it small. Ask me about the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for I swear there's not a single verse in it except that I know whether it was revealed during the night or the day, whether it was revealed in the plain or in the mountain. Again, another narrated tradition from Yahya ibn Sa'id, and he says there was not a single man from, look, this is very important, there was not a single man from the companions of the Prophet who could say, ask me, except Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam.
That's the thing, yeah, that's authentic, isn't it?
And its traditions are authentic. It's the name of the book, Al-Faqih wal Al-Muttafiq, and it's in volume 2, and it's the tradition. And again, by all means, in your own time, you can go back and you can verify this reference. There's a scan there for you guys to look at, and you can verify it. By all means, print it out, take it to your local mufti, and get him to read it, and you can verify the same thing, the same tradition which you've seen. I believe there's another tradition I just want to read really quickly as well, and this is from Fadail al-Sahaba by Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and he says Abdullah narrated to us, and it goes to Yahya ibn Sa'id narrated to us, and he said, he said, no one among the companions of the Prophet used to say, "Ask me," but Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And again, this is from Fadail al-Sahaba. The reference is there for you. From Fadail al-Sahaba. Let me see if I can quickly bring up one more. I think I'll put one more. Stay with me a minute. There's a tradition there. And you can see that it says it's Sanad al-Sahih. And this is from Al-Qurtubi's Jami al-Bayan, and it says, narrator Abu Tafail, I witnessed Ali giving a sermon and saying, "Ask me, for I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's not a single thing that you can ask me about until the day of judgment, except that I can tell you about it. And ask me about the book of Allah, for I swear by Allah, there's not a verse in it except that I know whether it was revealed during the night or the day, whether it was revealed in the plain or in the mountain." And the tradition has been authenticated by a contemporary scholar, Al-Albani. He authenticates the tradition, and I just want to bring this up as the last scan. So again, we can see that there was a group of Sahaba who had bad memory, used to forget things. However, on the other hand, we had a group of Sahaba who were, they had amazing memory, like Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, like no other Sahaba. Again, as you can see, it says the Sanad al-Sahih. So yes,
that's a really good point. Thank you, Sayyid. And you know what? This links to the point that we regard Amir al-Mu'mineen as the Wasi, the inheritor of the Prophet's knowledge, isn't it? The executor, he inherits his, sorry, Varis. So what we believe is Imamate inherits prophethood. So if there's a knowledge that the Prophet had, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam acquired that knowledge. And Sayyid, is there a way that, I want to talk a little bit more on this point just now. Sorry, brothers, just a couple more minutes. But Sayyid, could you pull out the tradition of Imam Hassan alayhi salam where he actually mentions Amir al-Mu'mineen's position to the Prophet?
Not at this moment in time, because I think we're discussing exclusively on the
issue
of
just to say, I was going to explain that in terms of inheritance, but we believe that the Imams inherit that knowledge.
Yeah.
Can I just, from another perspective, I think there's 2 points that I want to kind of raise. We'll discuss it a bit further with the brothers as well. In terms of knowledge itself, you know what? The knowledge of the Quran in itself opens up the doors of ghaib. Because if you look at the example of the Quran itself, we have the example of the Queen Bilqis's throne, which was within a twinkling of an eye moved by the jinn. What does it say in the Quran, verse 27-40? The one with whom just a part of the knowledge of the book said, I shall bring it to you within the twinkling of an eye. Then Suleiman saw the throne set in his presence. So basically, he had a partial knowledge of the book, and from Ghaiba, he manages to bring the throne of Bilqis to the presence of Hazrat Suleiman. Now, if that's just the knowledge, that much partial knowledge unlocks the door of Ghaiba. Imagine how much knowledge Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam has, who has a complete knowledge of the book.
He was the only one. Asbari, it says he was the only one from amongst the companions of the Prophet who made this claim. Only one.
Yeah. And you know something, I think, can I also mention Surah Naml, verse 75 says, and there is nothing concealed, and it says well ghaib, in the heaven and on the earth, that is not contained in the book. So obviously, if you've got a complete knowledge of the book, you can unlock the secrets of ghaib. And if we believe Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam has that knowledge, and he says, ask me, what is the issue? Why do you have this hump if you, if we say exactly that point about Ali? That's one point. And Sayyid Ali, I think we can probably work off another point as well. The fact of the matter is, the development of ilm unlocks the door of ghaiba, because as knowledge increases, things which were previously hidden, they become opened up. You know, they no longer are hidden. Can you bring up the narrative of
actually,
Ibn Umar?
I want to bring that. That's a very good point, Hassan Bari, which you made. That is, I brought the tradition up right now. Can you see my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we're talking about knowledge of the unseen, and I want to bring your attention to this chapter. And this is from Sahih Bukhari, volume 2, book 17, hadith 149. And it says, narrated Ibn Umar, okay? Allah's messenger, may peace and blessings be upon him, said, the keys of the unseen knowledge are 5.
Yeah.
Which nobody knows but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so let's have a look at what these are. Let's have a look at what these 5 things are, which only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows them. Okay, and apparently narrated Ibn Umar that he heard the Prophet say this. Okay, nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. Well, fair enough, that we can understand, because we can all agree that nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. Certain things we can probably know through what we have control over. Nobody knows what is in the womb. Well, that's not true, Hassan Bahari.
No,
because nowadays, with modern science, we can come to know what a woman may have. She can have a male child, a female child, a female child. So
twins,
that statement,
disabled children,
yeah, again, disabled children even. Okay, here's another one. Nobody knows what he will be given tomorrow. To some extent, we can agree to that. Nobody knows at what place he will die. That's interesting. Okay. And finally, and nobody knows when it will rain. That's something which we can definitely confirm. We have knowledge to in this day and age.
Yeah.
With modern science, we can know what the weather. We can know what the weather is for the whole week. So
absolutely, we've had the beast from the east. We were told about it a week beforehand, weren't we? That the weather would be terrible in England.
But only Allah knows that, apparently, according to the tradition.
But you understand, it's the concept of science. The development of science has enabled this ghaiba to be unlocked. Agreed?
Yeah. Hassan Bahari.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Hassan Bahari, I don't think you saw the tradition on the screen. You didn't mention it. Okay. I'll just bring the tradition up for the viewers to see anyway in their own time. So this is the tradition here. And as you can see, it quite clearly states that only 5 types of knowledge is something which only Allah knows. But in this day and age, we can at least agree that 2 of those knowledges, or two of those things, we can know whether it's going to rain tomorrow or not, and we can, pretty much determine the sexuality.
Well, all aspects of the weather. If we look at aspects of the weather, in terms of eclipse, sunset, sunrise, all these things have been now, scientists know. And we're not saying that these scientists are prophets or astaghfirullah, or they're the creator.
Allah.
No, but could you imagine if we had traditions like this where the Imam? I'll just give you an example. Imagine, in book X, Imam Ali one day came out and said it will rain tomorrow. You can imagine what these people would be saying. They'd be saying, "Oh, look at this." They believe that their Power Ranger Imam is God.
Yeah.
But you understand? But you guys, in this day and age, you guys won't go out with an umbrella if you find out it's going to rain tomorrow. You rely on the weatherman.
You wouldn't go to Speaker's Corner if you knew if it was raining.
Absolutely, but you see what I'm saying. But also say, Dali, can we mention? I think we've clarified that point.
Maybe we can.
Even the other things, the other things. Looking back at Ibn Umar's narration, it says the keys of the unseen. Could you put that one up again?
Well, Hassan Bahari, I've got something even better for you. Okay, so according to that criteria, only Allah knows what the sexuality is of the child, right?
Sex, not sexuality. Just be clear. Big difference.
Oh yeah, that's true. He knows what the gender is of that child, whether it's going to be a male or female. But even though in this day and age, with the discovery of modern science stuff, you can actually choose whether you want to have a boy and girl. I think if you go to certain parts of Korea,
absolutely,
a boy, they can give you a boy through doing certain tests or etc.
You can have twins.
Hassan Bahari. In fact, Abu Bakr himself knew the sex of a child. Let me bring you up a very interesting narration, which according to them, he would be considered like some sort of Power Ranger.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is from Muwatta of Malik, and it's a rather long narration. Malik relayed to me from Ibn Shabab, from Urwa ibn Zubair, that Aisha, that the wife of the Prophet, said, Abu Bakr gave me a palm tree who produced 20 osak from property of Ghaba. when he was dying. He said, "By Allah, little daughter, there is no one I would prefer to be wealthy after I die than you." Wow, that's a strange thing. Okay, there is no one, it is more difficult for me to see the poor after I die than you. It's interesting, isn't it? When it comes to Fadak, the Prophet didn't consider it for his daughter, yeah? Abu Bakr considered a daughter for Aisha, but okay, we'll come to Fadak another time, yeah? There's no one in it more difficult for me to see more poor after I die than you. I gave you a palm tree who's produced 20 osak. Had you cut them and taken possession of them, they would have been yours. But today, they are the property of the successors, and they are your two brothers and your two sisters. So divide it according to the book of Allah. Aisha continued and said, "My father, by Allah, even if it had been more, I would have left it. There's only Asma. Who's my other sister?" Because at the time, I shouldn't have any other sister. Abu Bakr replied, "What is in the womb of Kharija?" Kharija was the wife of Abu Bakr's brother from the Ansar. "I think it's going to be a girl." Wow. So Abu Bakr even predicted that his wife was going to have
a girl.
And this is from Muwatta Malik, and there's the tradition. So again, it goes back to the point. Does that mean that they're demigods? Should we take that meaning?
In fact, I think, you know, Waidid Zaman is basically a Salafi scholar commentary. He mentions this as one of the miracles of Abu Bakr. So, I mean, you know.
So he had knowledge of the unseen.
Absolutely. An unseen which no one had knowledge of, according to Ibn Umar. Abu Bakr had it.
Well, there's even examples of Ibn Taymiyyah having knowledge of the unseen. Hassan Bahri, as you're probably aware, right?
Do tell us. Can you explain, elaborate on that?
No, I think we've gone way too over. I think it's not fair that Brother Ryan's got a big grin. He's probably thinking the Sayyids have taken the fort now.
No. You guys may as well just keep going on this topic because it's been about 2 hours. So
okay. Could you give a couple more examples of ghaib? For example,
I can Hassan Bahri. Well, I'll give you what's interesting. You know, so there's many examples. Obviously, we can give of ilm al-ghaib. You know, there's examples of Ibn Taymiyyah predicting the attack on the Syrians. There's incidences where in Tariq al-Khulafa, where Umar himself had a dream that a cock was pecking at him, and then he mentioned it to Qab al-Akhbar, and he said, "I'm going to die soon." Yeah. So, you know, he foresaw his death coming close to him. You know, there's examples where Abu Bakr, where Umar himself, you know, he saw an army of people coming from behind the mountain. And all these things, by the way, are mentioned in that book, which I quoted earlier from Ibn Taymiyyah, which talks about the miracles of the Sahaba. And he gives examples where Sahaba foresaw things and before they happened. But isn't it interesting, Hassan Bahri?
Mention the mountain event a bit more, please. What happened there?
The mountain occasion. Well, there was an army who were going to attack, and Umar started shouting and he started telling the Sahaba, "Get ready, there's an army coming." And then the Sahaba were waiting there, like, you know, what's going on? And all of a sudden, this army came, and Umar was right about it. And this was considered to be one of his said miracles. In fact,
where was Umar at the time? Don't forget, he was giving a khutbah in Medina, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was giving a khutbah in Medina, I believe.
And he could see the army about to be attacked by non-Muslims.
Exactly, but he couldn't. But Hassan Bahri, but he couldn't see the knife of Abu Lulu.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
you know,
if we're going to play games and we're going to start saying, "Oh yeah, but you know, Imam al-Islam had knowledge of the unseen, the Imam al-Islam had knowledge of the seen, but they couldn't see this coming." Well, then if we apply the same logic, then you know, what kind of absurd conclusion would we be making about the Sahaba?
Exactly. Ka'b bin Abr told Umar that you're going to get killed within 3 days because there's a so-called pecking, whatever it was, wasn't it? It's that generation. So he should have stayed inside. He should have risked killing him to get himself killed.
Yeah, it's true. Absolutely.
You know, I don't know. I mean, it's just such an absurd. There are so many examples of ghaib. You know what? If these people challenge us and say that we're lying, or if they have
Hassan Bahri, we will do a whole show on the ghaib of Umar. Yeah, we will do a whole show on the ghaib of Umar. And let's not forget, this is the same Ibn Taymiyyah which I think Bin Baz said there's even evidence to prove that he's a prophet. There's even evidence for it.
Yeah, he had signs of prophethood. Yeah.
Yeah, he had signs of prophethood.
He'd be one of them.
Yeah. So where do you want to take it from?
If you guys want to do another one of your dumb videos in which you say, "Oh well, you lot believe that the prophets have Imams have knowledge of ghaib, and that proves that you're Power Rangers, etc." Don't worry, we can easily do a couple of shows on that.
We will do five shows. We will do 5 shows on the miracles performed just by Umar. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Exactly.
Sorry, guys, I don't know if you want to add anything, Brother Daniel.
Brother Daniel, sorry. I think we've gone quite detailed there, right?
Yeah, you went really detailed into things. I mean, let's not forget that Omar sometimes was even closer to revelation than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mean, I wonder what they would say about us if we had narrations where Imam Ali alayhi salam corrected the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about a matter, and he said, "No, I don't think you're correct," and Allah gives him his. How to say that in English?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean, right?
The position of Umar, yeah. In fact, it seems Sahih Muslim, isn't it? He goes that the Prophet, God preferred my view to the Prophets on several matters.
No, he agreed with me. He agreed with me on some matters. Allah agreed with me.
He agreed with me.
What was the story about hijab when he was watching? This is a very strange incident anyway.
Bro, this is a very disrespectful incident. Where the wife of the Prophet, when she went to go to the toilet in a public place.
Yes, and he was watching her.
He was watching her, shouting at her. It's disgusting.
In the middle of the night, right?
Yes.
I mean, what was he doing there? He was lurking around the Prophet's house.
We need to dedicate a whole show on the disrespect that these people did on the wives of the Prophet.
Exactly.
It's humiliating. It's absolutely humiliating.
True.
The reality of things will be open to the people, so that everyone will see the truth of the matter. Who are the ones who, astaghfirullah, the stuff they say, I don't want to even repeat it on my tongue. It's disgusting.
Yeah, exactly.
They know fully well as well. They know this. They know what their scholars have said.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they just keep quiet.
What did Omar say? He said, "Sauda, I see you." I mean, this sounds very strange. I wouldn't want somebody, if I go to toilet, somebody saying, "I see you," in an accusing tone. Well,
it's like, for example, my neighbor, he's got a wife.
Yeah.
So if I was to look from the window, hypothetically speaking, and she's, just say in those times, there was no like toilet in the house. The toilets used to be outside. So the women or the men used to go outside to relieve themselves in the field. So if I was to hypothetically look over through my window and say to my neighbor's wife, "I can see you. I can see what you're doing." What do you think she'll say about me? She'll go.
She'll call the police.
She'll call the police. She'll say, "Look, this guy's a pervert. He's disgusting. What the hell? Mind your own business." And
she'd use the same language Ryan used last week.
Oh yeah.
Bro.
But you know what I mean. It's amazing, isn't it? No one seems to have an issue with that. The fact that he's actually shouting at a wife of the Prophet who wants to just.
Imagine that in our books. If we would transfer it from their books to ours, that would make a huge hue and cry about that.
Poor woman. She couldn't even go to the toilet in peace.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. But I think we digress. But brothers, are we kind of concluded on this matter? I think these two. We only answered 2 questions, but I think they've been thorough.
I think we did.
I think when it comes to this, once again, it comes down to what certain words mean. And it's really funny, just like a couple of days ago, I was educating someone, Daniel, you saw it. I was educating an Arab on what Arabic words meant in the Quran.
It was a funny discussion, yeah.
And we were all trying to explain to him. I had to message him personally and then talk to him, send him voice notes for him to understand what I was talking about. And it took forever for him to understand it, and then he finally accepted. It was just the fact that he just couldn't accept in regards to the word Shia. He just didn't want to agree with us on what the actual word itself meant. No attachments to any of school. I just wanted him to get linguistically to understand what the word meant, and then and all the various contexts which that root can be used in. Same thing goes for ghaib. You know what I mean? They think they have this weird. There's a stigma about it because the Twelvers have this concept of an imam in the ghaib that they kind of push away from it. Yet, but there's examples of it in the Quran. There's examples in it of in their hadith. You know what I mean? They don't read, and they also they're scared of being like us in any way. It's so weird. It's creepy. They just don't want to be like us, and it really just comes down to me the love for walaya. You know what I mean? You actually have to have that. Even if you say that you love Ali, it comes down to what you're willing to accept or not. You know what I mean? So I think inshallah ta'ala we can go into all these other topics that we missed out a bit more in depth. But it always just comes down for me just linguistics. They just don't seem to get just the basic examples, yet they give us crap about about the Arabic. It's absurd, man. It's so bad.
That disease of literalism is a big problem for these guys, isn't it?
Well, it's not even literalism though, because they don't even know what certain words mean, like in the various contexts that they can be used in.
Yeah,
so it's just so absurd. I just don't. Yeah, I personally think for even our school has esoteric elements to it. There's even just literal examples of just the apparent meanings of the Quran itself are sufficient. You know what I mean? We have I think we have a hadith that states there's 7 interpretations or 7 meanings in levels of batin. And so the zahir should be enough. You know what I mean? But they don't even seem to get past that, and they play polemics and they mix with all these hadiths that don't even make any sense, or they're not authentic, and it's just absurd. It's very sad, and I don't know. It just confuses the hell out of me. I just don't know what to say sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Daniel, anything else you want to add on that?
Yeah, I think this lack of what Ryan mentioned, this fear and this lack of a certain amount, not I don't mean new age hocus pocus, but a certain amount of esotericism. If you don't have that in a religion, this is just very shallow, and it's not very appealing, I think, to the soul, because our psyche also has deeper levels, and I think a faith without a certain level of esotericism seems very inferior compared to other religions.
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
opinion.
Absolutely agreed. I think there's one thing that amazed me, because when I saw the main objection, the question that was being answered was, why have you given why have the Shias given their Imams Allah's attributes? Okay, so godlike characteristics. But isn't it the irony of it, brothers, is the fact that we're talking about a sect that believes that they've given God human-like characteristics. If you look at our Tawheed series, you guys have brought God down to a peg, where he's got hands, he's got feet, he's got fingers, he's got a foot in hell. He appears to the Prophet with curly hair as a young teenage boy. What are you talking about? How on earth can you kind of even argue with us on this point? Mock us. What is your concept of Tawheed? And you'll see that you guys are embarrassed by it. And it is an embarrassment. So please don't try and sort of take pot shots at us. Kindly look at what is growing in your back garden first before trying to sort of attack us. I think kind of that concludes matters for the evening, if we're all in agreement. Inshallah ta'ala, we will continue the session next week, next Thursday, inshallah ta'ala. And
don't forget, apologies for last week as well when we got cut off.
Oh, apologies, there was some technical error, happens with
Hassan Bahari got his pictures out and started dancing. He actually
exactly, that was it. Yeah, exactly, the Majusi sort of dance that we do. But I'm on good behavior now. But inshallah ta'ala, we will continue this series as long as viewers demand it. If that's what they require, we will continue to address objections. Thank you for watching. Remember,
just a point as well. If there's an objection, anything we've said today, we will dedicate doing a whole show, at least 1 or 2 shows on that particular topic as well.
Yeah, no problem. Inshallah ta'ala, that is no problem at all. Happy to do so. Thank you very much all. Remember us in your du'as as we shall remember you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hassan Bahari, be very careful, this advice to the viewers. If you decide to use the toilet in a public area. Just make sure that nobody's watching.
It's like Jerry Springer's final thought. Thank you for that.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, slow.